Hey everybody, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. Today I thought we would discuss, I read a Substack article from a man you might not be familiar with. I'm gonna put a link in the description to him. You maybe want to. His name is Jeff Asher, and he is a nationally recognized crime data analyst. And he made an article entitled, "Police Response Times May Be Improving." And I read it. It's interesting. I subscribe to Jeff's Substack and his Jeffalytics, and he's got some really fascinating Substack articles. But something stood out to me in his research or in this Substack article that he's 100% right, but the raw numbers tell a story that I don't think we want to really think about.
Download the ASP Unlimited app for all the content you love from Active Self-Protection and more with no interference from YouTube. No ads, no age gates, exclusive videos, seminars, classes, and more on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Android TV. Hit the link in the description or download ASP Unlimited from your app store today.
Okay, so we're going to discuss a news story here. So let me put on my glasses that aren't as reflective so that you all can see my face a little bit better. And man, if we look at the Seattle Police Department, so we had a bunch of good stuff in here, links in the description, go read it, right? Go read it in its entirety, right? So longer response times by the cops mean fewer successfully reported incidents is what it is. So when people think the police aren't going to get here for forever, they just don't call in crime. That's just how it goes. Also, the longer it takes the police to respond, the less chance of catching the people who did it. So I mean, those are hand in glove, pretty easy to think about. But there's interesting stuff here. There is in particular, a data table that he notes here that says response times appear to be mostly falling. Average response times in agencies with available data from 2019 to 2025. And there's some interesting agencies in here. There's Austin, Texas, and Boise, Idaho, Cincinnati, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, Gilbert, Arizona, Little Rock, Arkansas, Montgomery County, I don't know which state that is, and Nashville, Tennessee. And if you look on the right, 2024 versus 2025, you start to see, okay, Boise went from 25.7 minutes of response time to 23.0, from 22.5 in Cincinnati to 20.1. Detroit from 39.1 to 35.9. This is very good. Gilbert, Arizona, basically unchanged, 9.5 to 9.4. So you're getting these small, but I mean, not insignificant decreases from 24 to 25. That's great. But go over and look at 2019. If you go look at, for instance, Austin in 2019 was at 29.3. Well, 2024, they're at 46.7. Boise goes from 16.4 to 23.0. That's almost a 50% rising of response times. Now, Cincinnati is the one weirdo. They've been better than most the whole time, 22.9 in 2019 to 20.1. Okay, they got better. If you look, Detroit went from 32 minutes to 35. Gilbert from 8.7 minutes to 9.4. Gilbert, Arizona is in the Phoenix metro area, is around my hood. Well, it's on the other side of the valley for me, but it's a relatively small town in this area. Little Rock, 21.4 to 23. Montgomery County, 23 to 24. Nashville, 37 to 44. So if we look pre-pandemic to today, 6 years later, almost all of them have significantly increased. And so there's still, and again, the subheading of the article that, right, it says police response times may be improving, though they're still pretty bad, at least in the cities with available data. Well, why is that? And then what is the follow-up, right? So why is that staffing? I mean, it's as simple as that. I know, Phoenix, for instance, has hundreds and hundreds of unfilled patrol officer spots, and they can't fill them. They just can't get people that qualify, that make it through the academy and fill the spots. So there's only so much overtime that existing officers can do. And you also have, staffing shortages in the 911 centers for dispatch. That's a tough job. That is a very difficult job and a thankless job, those people. So if you know a dispatcher, thank them for the work that they do. That is a crazy hard job. And, so we have a staffing shortage of dispatchers, staffing shortage of patrol officers, staffing shortage all the way around. And that leads to a longer response time, though it seems like it's maybe they might be kicking the trend back a little bit. That's good. Now, I will say, for instance, Phoenix PD. that would be who would respond to me. They do things by priority, like the highest priority one calls are like, violent crime in progress, suspect still on scene kind of stuff. They have an average response time of 6 to 8 minutes. Yeah, you watch the channel. How long does the average armed robbery take? Less than 6 to 8 minutes, right? 2 minutes tops. Priority 2 are like calls like burglary that's not in progress, that's already completed. Average response time 20 to 40 minutes. And then if it's less priority than that, like, hey, I need to just write a report, it can take hours or even days. And so I can tell you though, the last time that I needed Phoenix PD priority 1, like I don't want to go into all the details, okay? But there was a very violent person in my house that I was holding at bay, and they took 26 minutes. And that's not a knock on any of the officers. That's not a knock on dispatch. That's just how long it took them. And the officer who finally showed up was dispatched from another call that he abandoned to come get mine. And he was about 7 miles away through heavy traffic in rush hour. So it took him 26 minutes to get to me. It's just the way that it worked. Just the way things go. So from the time I made the call. So, here's my big lesson here. And I really think, this Substack article is really interesting. And here's, I'm going to read you a very important bit out of this. Okay. So, I'm going to actually screenshot it here. I'm doing this with you while I'm reading it. Okay. It says the average response time in New Orleans in 2022 was nearly 2.5 hours. Seattle was around an hour and a half in 2024, though the exact Seattle response time is a bit challenging to nail down because Seattle PD's calls for service data is particularly complex. San Francisco hit 81 minutes in 2023. Those 3 cities are at 65, 87, and 67 minutes so far in 2025. There's definite improvement in 2025 after generally worsening response times between 2019 and the 2022 to 2024 timeframe. Second, all of these cities are above their 2019 average response times with the exception of Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's response time is and has been consistently excellent. 20 minutes is excellent. So while it's good news that response times are generally falling in these cities with data, they're still considerably higher than they were in 2019, which makes sense given that officer counts in bigger cities have fallen away since 2019, and staffing is the most important factor in changing response times. It's not the only factor though. But it just reinforces to me, everybody, that you're your own first responder. On a priority 1 call, you can expect the cops to get there in at best 6 to 8 minutes. At best 6 to 8 minutes. And go watch the big channel. How long are the average gunfight? The average gunfight's 5, 6, 7 seconds long. How long is the average defensive encounter? Maybe 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes tops from start to finish. You might see a couple that go 3, 4 minutes, but that's very rare. The police simply, the numbers tell us, cannot get there in time. So what does that mean for you and I? We are our own first responders, right? I'm not telling you got to be Rambo. I'm not telling you got to be a one-man wrecking crew. I am saying you got to be able to hold a fort because nobody's coming to save you. Just fire the boats. It's up to us. Nobody is coming to help us. You got to feel like the Chosin Marines, right? That we have to hold on, that nobody's coming. And that means you got to be prepared, attitude, skills, and plan. And I can't tell you enough. That goes for all of us. And so I love you guys know, if you follow the big channel, I got nothing but respect for law enforcement. I got a lot of buddies. I think they do a tough job and do it well as a general rule. There's some bad apples, but generally speaking, they're pretty good. But the biggest thing is they just can't get there in time. And Jeff's Substack backs that up. So I would recommend you subscribe to his Substack. It's good information. And if you're a nerd like I am, at least it is. And if you recognize what those numbers actually taught us, they taught us that things, they ain't so great. I hope that helps you today to take your security and safety into your own hands and better cover your asp.